What's up guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Sunny and today I'm going to answer the question, where should I start with the IELTS? So, without further ado, let's get started. So if you are someone who doesn't know anything about the IELTS but plan to take the test sometime in the near future, then this is going to be the perfect video for you. The very first thing that you need to do before you even begin to study or practice for the IELTS is that you need to ask yourself the question, why? Why am I taking the IELTS? Is it for my career? Is it for my education? Or am I doing it for someone else? Because you would be surprised by how many people taking the IELTS simply because their parents saw that their friend's neighbor's daughter had an 8 or 8.5 in IELTS, and suddenly they decided that, hey, my daughter needs to have an 8.5 as well. So again, why are you taking the IELTS? Do you actually need it? Does your university require you to hand in the certificate? Do you need a certificate to hand in to your future employer? Or are you doing it just for fun? Once you have answered those questions, then you can move on to the next step, which is to determine what is your target score. Don't just say that, hey, I need to have 7.5 because my friends got it. No, that's not an answer. What your friends got, what your neighbors got, doesn't have anything to do with you. If you are simply taking the IELTS because everyone else is doing it, then honestly, it's just going to be a waste of money. If you are a high school student and would like to study university in a foreign country, then chances are you will need to get a 6.5. But if you are a university student that would like to teach the IELTS or English in the future, then chances are you will need to have an 8.0 or higher. Whichever the case you are, just determine what is your score that you need to achieve, and that's going to be your target. Now that you have a goal and a target score in mind, you can now determine what is your current level of English, preferably in terms of the CEFR scale. By doing so, you will be able to determine how much preparation and work you will need to dedicate yourself to in order to achieve that target grade. Realistically speaking, you might even find out that, hey, perhaps I don't have the necessary skills to even tackle the IELTS in the first place. Because if we look at the CEFR scale, which I'll show here, we can clearly see that in order to achieve a 4.0 in the IELTS, you need to at least have already had some experience in terms of basic English. So that means you need to have an A1 or A2 already. If you haven't achieved those levels yet, then I think it might be worth learning the basics first before we move on to the IELTS. If, on the other hand, you are someone who has already had some experience with English, you know the basics, you can use it to a certain extent, but is unsure of your level in terms of the scale, then a quick test will allow you to answer that question. All you need to do is go to this website, which I'll show here. This is Cambridge's official website. They provide a quick test for you to determine your English level. You can click one of the 4 options here, but I suggest clicking on English for business or work. You can take the test for 3 to 4 minutes. It's quite fast. After which they'll give you a result, and then you can determine what is your current level. At this point, you will see that you already have a goal, a target, and a starting point. So now you need to determine when to achieve that goal. Because every goal needs to have a deadline, right? So you need to have a date in which you absolutely need to hand in the IELTS certificate, because otherwise you will just procrastinate indefinitely. A lot of students say that, oh, you know, I'll just take the test when I feel ready. But the thing is, you are actually never ready for the IELTS, because regardless of how much you practice and how much you prepare, there's still an element of surprise in the test, which you only find out once you actually do it. So now back to our little chart. You have a goal, you have a target score, you have a starting point, you have a deadline. Now you can move on to realistically determine how much work you have to put in here, how much time and what you need to do. Generally speaking, and I say this quite loosely because it depends on a lot of different factors, but if you want to increase one band score from, for example, a 5 to a 6, then you would need somewhere from 2 to 3 months of preparation with at least 2 to 3 hours of daily practice, not counting Saturdays and Sundays. Essentially, what this equates to is about it equates to about 84 hours to 180 hours of practice and learning in order to increase one band score. Of course, realistically, how much work a person needs to put in depends largely on a number of different factors, and so the actual number that you will need to put your efforts into can vary greatly, but it's safe to say that it could lie somewhere within that range. The point here is that with this estimate, you can now go on to plan your schedule and decide whether you can actually fit in the required hourly practice on a daily basis in order to achieve your target grade. If, for example, you are a full-time worker who wants to achieve a 7.5 in your next test compared to your previous 6.0, that would mean you need to have an increase of at least 1.5 in the IELTS score. Now, based on the calculations that we've done before, 1.5 band increase would equate to somewhere between 200 to 250 hours of practice, and that would roughly mean 3.5 months to 4 months of practice. Now, with this number, that person can then see whether they actually have 3.5 months to prepare, or do they actually have less time, and they can change their plan accordingly. So, when you have all of these types of information, now you can go on to practice the IELTS. Because trust me, if you don't know exactly what you need to do, how to do it, when to do it, then everything else after that is just going to be a massive hassle. So, to summarize really quickly, first, you need to know why you are taking the IELTS in the first place and what is your goal with the IELTS. Next, you need to determine what is your target score that you need to achieve. After that, you will also need to determine what is your starting point so that you know how much work you need to put in and how much time you have. After that, you need to determine when you need to have the IELTS certificates. And so, based on those information, you can now go on to study and learn the IELTS more effectively. I hope you guys found some of the information in this video helpful. And if you liked it, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. That's going to help out the channel a lot. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.